Okay, so I am back. I was planning to take a little bit longer of a break. Sorry, friends had us as cue and I didn't realize it until I started filming. I was planning to take a little bit longer of a break, but I really want to get into Soap Season 2, so I'm back. And a little bit sunburned, if you can see. I've been out collecting recycling, and that sun is not friendly. Even in winter, that sun is a fucking bitch. Anyways, so I'm going to talk about Season 1 of Soap before I get into Season 2. And I've made a little list here of all of the names of the characters. I've separated them, Mary's family and Jessica's family, so that I can go through and give each member their minute. Some don't have very much to talk about for Season 1. So we're going to start out with Jessica, I guess. She is one of our main characters. I think Jessica is the main character. I don't know what's going on with her, because in some episodes she seems perfectly normal and reasonable, and in others she seems medicated and loopy and flighty and strange, and it seems like they shifted her personality after a couple episodes. But it seems like after a couple of episodes, all of the characters really got shifted, because in the beginning I really didn't like a whole lot of the characters, but then after a couple of episodes some things changed and I started to like them. So Jessica is a mother. She's a wife. The first thing we learn about her is that she is sleeping with her tennis instructor, Peter. By the end of the Season 1, she has been to trial and convicted for Peter's death. So how the fuck did we go from a mother and wife having an affair to prison for murder in 20 episodes, 25 episodes, I think there was. That was a lot of her thing. There was also a big thing with her and Corinne. So I guess we'll talk about Corinne next, since it's part of Jessica's story. Because Corinne is introduced to us as one of Jessica's daughters, but she's not actually Jessica's daughter. She was kind of stolen from her real mother, Ingrid, who I'm not going to talk about any further than that because I don't like her. As for Corinne's character, I'm not the biggest fan. I like Jessica's character, by the way. I don't know if I said, I am a fan of Jessica. She's flighty and silly, but I like her. I really like her outfits. She had this one outfit that was, actually I think the night that Peter was killed, where it had the hood that matched, and it was so fucking just pretty. I loved it. I love things with hoods. That could be why. But that ensemble and all of the outfits that she wears are so pretty. And Corinne as well has some really pretty outfits. But I don't like Corinne. She's very one note as a character. And my problem with Corinne, she admits to being with a whole bunch of guys, but the only one that she really cares about is the one that she can't be with. She wants to be with a man who's trying to be a priest. He's Father Tim. And so he doesn't want to be with her because it goes against his religion and his religious work. And she just won't leave him alone. And every single scene with Corinne and Father Tim pissed me off, because just leave this man alone. He has his thing. He wants God. Take your pussy somewhere else. He's not doing anything to hurt anybody. And somebody in my comments was saying that Father Tim was constantly, I don't know, hitting on her or something, but I didn't see that at all. I saw him pushing her away and trying everything he could to be religious and be in his faith, and she was just a hindrance and an obstacle and an annoyance. And the bitch fucking dressed up as the abominable snowman to find him up in the mountains where he ran away to get away from her and get right with the Lord. It was so frustrating. I don't like Corinne. Next is her sister Eunice, who, again, we have very little. The only thing we know about Eunice is that she's in a secretive relationship with a congressman. And as much as I can remember, that's her entire character. That's it. You're a girl and you're in a secret relationship. That's you. And she dressed like Velma at the murder trial, which was hilarious. Even worse, they got the wrong verdict, even with the Scooby Gang in the courtroom. After that, we're going to have Billy, which is Jessica's youngest son. I think they said he's 15, but he did look younger. There's very little to say about Billy. He's 15. He's possibly the only sane person in this family, so he really has nothing going on. He was trying to get with a girl in the first couple of episodes, but she's left him, so he's been a little despondent. But after that, he was just kind of there. They couldn't even, involve him with the murder trial and stuff because he was a kid, so his main thing was, well, go to your room. We've got the Major, who is Jessica's father, who, I guess he was in World War I or World War II, or possibly both, and is still a little shell-shocked. The only thing I can say about him is that I hope that he stays with the family. I hope they don't wind up sending him off to an institution or a nursing home or something like that, because my great-grandmother was killed by a nursing home, and so I personally just think that you should try to keep your loved ones at home if you can. After that, we have Chester, which is Jessica's husband. I don't like Chester. I'm hoping they just get rid of Chester, but I don't think that's going to happen. Chester's an asshole. Chester is your typical rich dick who he thinks because he has money he can do whatever he wants, and he's been doing the secretary for at least a decade. She said she was 18 when she started, and she had just, I think, turned 30 when she addressed the issue of him not leaving his wife for her for all those years. And he is now being blackmailed by that secretary because, yeah, he led her on for most of her adult life to believe that she had a chance and he was going to leave his wife and all this for 10 years? No, fuck you, dude. The last person on that side we have is Benson. I love Benson. Benson was so loved by the entire everybody, the audience, the members, that he got his own show. And I'm thinking we're probably going to watch it. I haven't decided fully, but since it is on YouTube, there's a chance that I will watch Benson. Benson is funny. Benson is all of us. Benson is just there in the background to make snarky comments and say what we're all thinking, but are not there to say. And I love him. And I love, when they have him, I love that whenever they have him outside of the house, he's bringing somebody food. And I don't know if they did that because he's a butler, but to me, it was well, food is Benson's love language. He's a chef, he's a cook, he shows his love by feeding. And so I don't know if that's what they meant when they did that, or if they were just the stereotype of you're a butler, this is all you do, you bring them food. But having him bring the food to Jody in the hospital and also to Jessica in prison was very sweet. And I thought it gave Benson a lot of character. These little things they do like that can give a character a whole lot of depth. And we've gone through the entire of Jessica's side. So on the other side, we have Mary's family. Mary is, I think, the only sane person in her family. She doesn't have a whole lot going on herself. It's everything going on with her is connected to her family. So she's a wife and a mother to adult children. Her first husband is deceased when we start the series, and she is married to her second husband, Bert. Now, Bert is quickly becoming my favorite character from my least favorite character. When the series started, for the first four or five episodes, I could not stand Bert or Chester, either of them. I hated those two characters. And I think it came down to how they were written and how they were portrayed. Because Bert, in the original portrayal of him, he has killed Mary's husband, and he's married her out of guilt, and he's unable to fuck her because he's guilty about killing her first husband. He has a very contentious relationship with both of her sons, Danny, who is in the mob, and Jody, who is gay. And because of that contention and that, I think like the first scene with Danny, they have a food fight. The first couple of episodes, they wind up just throwing food at each other. Which also made me mad. Stop throwing food at each other. Also, with Bert, he's always wearing everything he owns. I swear the man is freezing all the time. He's always wearing at least 3 shirts. And his movements are just, he is a hilarious comic actor. What changed it and made him one of my favorite characters was them making him crazy. When he started going invisible, that was when his character really clicked for me, and he just became hilarious. And it makes sense. Because he is acting erratic and insane, which is exactly how you would expect somebody who had murdered somebody to act. So I love Bert, and I don't care what they do with him as long as he gets to stay crazy. You know, make him purple, have him join a band and sing folk songs. I don't care. Just keep Bert crazy. So from there we've got Jody. It's Mary's son. Jody is gay. And that's pretty much all there is to Jody. He says it over and over and over again in the first dozen episodes. He's just telling everybody over and over again that he's gay. That's his big thing. He's gay, and he is dating a football player, and the football player is ashamed of being gay, and so the football player is dating a woman as a beard. And Jody, in the first dozen episodes, is planning to get a sex change so that the football player will be with them, thinking, well, if I'm a woman, they can be with me and not have to lie anymore. But the day of the sex change operation, the football player comes and just breaks off the relationship entirely and just shatters Jody's heart. So Jody decides not to get the sex change operation and originally attempts suicide, which was very dramatic and also very well acted and written, because I am about to tear up and start crying thinking about it. That old Jewish man that was talking to Jody and telling him to hold on and that it does get better. I'm okay. After that, we've got Chuck and Bob. Chuck and Bob are Bert's... Oh. Chuck is Bert's son. Bob is Bert's Bob. Bob is a ventriloquist dummy, a doll that Chuck talks through. And I did a little bit of research into the show, and apparently, originally, the killer for Peter was going to be Chuck and Bob, which makes sense because Chuck and Bob showed up just around the middle of the season. And so with them being new characters, it made sense that they would have written them off quickly as the murderers. But because people loved the characters so much, they decided to keep them and make them full-time cast. And I'm so happy they did because they're a whole lot of fun. I don't know a lot about Chuck, but Bob is hilarious. Bob apparently doesn't like Jody being gay and has been leaving him notes. The scene where Jody has put Bob in the fridge just kills me. And a lot of that is also Bert's acting when he finds Bob. And Chuck's acting of Bob was shaking and trembling and shivering when he pulled him out of the fridge. It's fantastic. Chuck is still a thing too. He's still alive and he's a ventriloquist and he did a whole lot of stuff. And Bob has been entered into a museum. So Bob is on display out there somewhere. Okay, so Mary's other son is Danny. Danny is a bro. Danny wants to be a tough guy. Danny is in the mob, but he doesn't want to be in the mob anymore. And so originally when we meet Danny, he is trying to exit the mob and told that he has to kill Bert because Bert killed his father. And so to exit the mob, he has to kill Bert, but he doesn't want to kill Bert. And so by the end of season 1, Danny just has to marry the Godfather's daughter in order to not be killed. But he's not really leaving the mob if he marries into it, is he? I mean, I thought his goal was to leave the mob. So marrying into the family seems a little bit off course for that goal. I guess we'll see where that goes. And finally, we have Peter. Peter is dead. Peter was killed, and we still don't know who killed Peter, except that I know that it was not Jessica. And I know that because at the end of season 1, the narrator told us that it was not Jessica. But who the fuck was it? I still say it was Chester. Given the suspects that we still have, because it wasn't Benson, and it wasn't Jody. It could have been Corinne. I'm not, but I think that likely it was probably Chester. And I'm hoping that we're not going to have to get too deep into season 2 before we find out who it really was, because we've already watched half of a season and come up with the wrong killer. I need to know. I need answers here, because I think Peter was killed in like episode 12, and there was 25 episodes, and it wasn't Jessica. So we're now going to jump straight in, and we're going to watch the first episode of season 2 and see where we're going to start from there. I am excited. There are some characters that I'm hoping that we get rid of. I still don't like Chester. Eunice and Corinne don't have any kind of storyline, but they're fine. It sucks that back then women were written just like their only character arcs were men. Every woman in every show back then is like, well, what is this woman's motivation? Men. Oh, okay. Some man for some reason. As long as it's a man. Fun stuff, right? See y'all at season 2.